Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming to listen to us today. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Ron Deshay.
And we are the founders of Pirani Life. Sorry.
She's up first.
All right. So we founded Pirani Life in 2018. And I believe some of you got our cups today. So they were designed to look like the Solo cup, but they work just like a Yeti. So they're vacuum insulated. Just a quick description of what our product is. And our whole mission is to encourage sustainability and help reduce the 500 billion single-use plastic cups used around the world each year. But to tell you a bit about our story really quick. So Branjay and I met in 2013 and we fell in love. We were both designers. I worked for Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines in their theater department at the time, and Branjay worked for Mr. Coffee as an industrial designer. We decided to quit those jobs and we traveled the world for 16 months. And we were really inspired to start a company at the time. And we had all different kinds of ideas. None of them really panned out. We just knew that we wanted them to be eco-friendly. We always wanted that to be our mission. And so we came back in 2015. We moved to a town in Fort Lauderdale called Lauderdale by the Sea. And we lived a block from the beach. And all of our activities took place in the ocean. We also started volunteering at the time with Surfrider Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. And we were seeing tons of trash on our beaches, especially the red Solo cup, cigarette butts, all plastic, all the things, and marine debris. And it was bothering us. And at the same time, Branjay was working for a scientific equipment company, and he was getting really excited about vacuum insulation. And he was coming home every day with liquid nitrogen and playing with it. And he's such a nerd. He's like, look, I can hold this in cups. And so he came home one day and he's like, I want to create a vacuum insulated Solo cup. And so he did just that. In our 1-bedroom apartment on his 3D printer, he designed our first prototype of the Pirani tumbler and got it, sent it overseas and got it made. Once we got our samples back and they worked, we started on Kickstarter. So we filmed our Kickstarter as well in our 1-bedroom apartment. And we launched that in 2018. And it was successful. And because of that, we now had to run our business out of our 1-bedroom apartment. And it was interesting. We honestly had no idea what we were doing. Both our background, as I mentioned, was designers, not necessarily business owners. And we learned as we went. We then graduated to a couple garages. We turned into garage businesses. And then we moved to Asheville 2020. And last year we got our first warehouse here. So that's been pretty exciting for us. Thank you. It's small. Yes, it's small, but it's growing, and we get a lot in and out of there. We actually have 2 employees now, part-time employees that go to UNCA, and we're even looking for more. Yeah, and so I will now. Oh, sorry, one more thing. We sell to a lot of retail stores. A big part of our business is co-branding. I would say 50% of our cups that we sell, we co-brand. And these are some local co-brands we've done. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that place in the middle, but that's our most recent co-brand, and has been like a really great win for us. So.
You won't see the Fillmore cups in the Fillmore yet because we just dropped them off last Wednesday, and it takes a long time for them to get things moving. So, as you mentioned, I work for Mr. Coffee, designing products. Most of my background was in design. When we first launched Pirani, we both had full-time jobs. Mine actually at the time was doing construction randomly. And so we weren't focusing on sales. And so one of the things, so this business decisions that have led to our success, we really focused last year on sales. We thought that we designed a really cool product when we launched it. We did it on Kickstarter. We were 450%. We thought everybody was going to come to us. Oh my gosh, yeah, run. And that's not what happened. And so we really focused first 2.5 years on marketing and advertising, and not on sales. And so last year we pivoted. We kind of took a Hail Mary in January, and we did a trade show in January, which was way more than we would ever want to spend. But in 4 days, we did half the annual sales that we did the year before. And so we realized that, okay, we've got something. We started working with a few sales reps and really started expanding our audience, because before the trade show, we were like, eco-friendly, that's our audience, 100%. Nobody else can buy our cups. That's obviously an exaggeration, but for the most part, we really focus on eco-friendly. So expanding into the trade shows, so we did 3 trade shows last year. We did Surf Expo, which was really good, and then a couple shows in Atlanta. We were in 350. We started the year last year with 8 retail stores. We finished with around 320 specialty retail stores. So that was a big part of our success. Last year we grew 950%, which sounds insane, which it really is, but the year before was not as great as it should have been. So, so another really big decision that helped us grow our business. So we decided to make some advertising decisions. Before, as I mentioned, we focused entirely all of our business on e-commerce. We thought that e-commerce was the best, right? So if anybody out here has a business, or when you're starting a business, you're going to do as much research as you can. The research we did led us to e-commerce. E-commerce is the holy grail. It's the cool kid. It's, if you watch Shark Tank, what's your e-commerce? It's great because your profit margin is really large, but it's really hard. And so we spent 2.5 years trying, and it grew a little bit, and it just wasn't what we were hoping for. So the specialty retail and distributors and trade shows helped us grow where we should. And so I just threw some numbers, or threw a couple charts. On the left is our Facebook ad spend, and that's not just Facebook, that includes Instagram, Google, and all the different advertisement placements. And on the right is our online orders, just on our e-commerce. And so if you notice the correlation between our ad spend, where we stop spending money, and our growth in sales, it's kind of not what you would expect. So year to date, we spent $0 on ads, and our e-commerce is up 220%, which in part is because the more people get our product, the more likely they are to come back. 30% of people that come and buy product once return to our website. And so we've noticed that if people go to a retail store and they buy our product, they're going to come to our website. So we've really focused on that being our main goal, and not necessarily, we're probably going to start doing a little bit of advertising on Facebook, but it's not going to be our main focus because it just hasn't yielded profit. It's been a very negative return on ad spend for the most part. And so my point with all of this is, if you are starting a business, or you have, we just spent 2.5 years not knowing that we needed to change what we're doing. We thought that e-commerce was the only way. We spent 2.5 years doing just that, and it didn't work. And our Hail Mary was the thing that actually kept us alive, because in March of last year, if we weren't on a successful track, we were probably going to close the company. But by March, we were already almost double our sales. Year to date now, we're at 250% growth from last year. And so anyways, that I think is everything. Yeah. So thank you everyone for
All right, we'd like to open it up for questions.
Wait, you have to ask.
Oh, yeah.
You have to ask us.
Well, we do that at the end.
Oh,
We're still
I'm
figuring
sorry.
this out, but that's how we know it's wrapping up. Is we say, no, like,
Okay, sorry. Okay.
So who has a question for Pirani?
Oh, really quick. So, sorry to interrupt. We have, so the cups that were up there were from our original Kickstarter. They are the wrong red. So they have kind of been sitting in a storage unit for a little while. And so they were perfectly fine, but we do have 4 perfectly good cups. We have 4 perfectly brand new, so we have them in white, black, red, and so the 4 or 5 best questions will win. They come with a lid. They're equally stacked with a lid. Okay, so
I'm with you. So I'm with you on Facebook and Instagram. They can be really successful, but have you guys started your TikTok?
yeah, we love TikTok. No, we are on TikTok. We post what she does all of our
The
social
cost per
media.
impressions, there are about 5 to 1 that they are on.
It's for advertising purposes. Yeah,
We have not started
I launched one campaign on TikTok.
So we've not really started advertising on TikTok, and we don't put the effort into it that, like, I've lost my mental health to Instagram, and I wasn't willing to do that to TikTok. So I've been trying to hire somebody who's willing to lose their mental health to it, and I have not found the person yet, so we're not as successful.
And I was gonna say, I think the discouragement of Facebook ads has caused us to completely, like, if I could spend $5,000 and get 5,000 cups in people's hands to break even, that is the most successful dollar spent. And so we will focus on ads again, probably in the next 2-3 months. We're actually gonna be launching another Kickstarter in a month and a half or so. And so, yeah, we'll definitely be running ads then.
So I have a winning question for you. You're in Asheville. I wonder if you might talk about the pluses of being in Asheville versus somewhere else, like for your business in particular.
So I don't know if this is the right answer, but I will say, so we were both born and raised in South Florida, and that's where we started our business. And we were not successful we had a large community of people purchasing our cups in South Florida, but for some reason we couldn't get into the retail stores there, and we didn't understand why. We thought, are we not cool enough? We're in like 2 retail stores in South Florida.
No, we're more now, but not.
And in many, here we got in multiple stores in downtown Asheville in 2019 before we even ever lived in Asheville. So I think people are just more receptive to our business here. It's a much more open community. Let me
Something else, this is just, I mean, it is what it is, but we, obviously all of our friends and family are in South Florida. I mean, we have friends and family here too. A couple of friends came to visit us today. But we, coming up here, we don't have as many distractions. So literally our entire life is just work in South Florida. I am a big kiteboarder and freediver, and that is a big distraction because we live a block from the beach. And so I don't have that distraction. So literally we've been focusing very, very, very heavy. Logistically wise, Asheville is amazing because shipping from here to California is a lot cheaper and a lot faster than from South Florida. South Florida adds like an extra day and a half. So that's a small part of it. But.
And people are nicer here. Yeah.
So I think you mentioned earlier that the products are produced overseas. Is that right? In China?
Yep.
Yes.
So have you experienced any supply chain issues? Getting them here, logistics, can you talk about that a little bit? And also, are you planning to produce in the US at some point?
Go ahead.
Yes, so we are, as we mentioned, relatively new to this. In September last year, I spent about 40 hours learning about how freight forwarding and logistics works, because that was the only way for me to really understand how I can do a better job of getting our product here. I spent probably 10 hours just watching the Los Angeles port and what boats are doing. And this is not an exaggeration. I was literally every morning waking up and watching, has that boat entered the port? Has that boat entered the port? Why hasn't it? And so what I learned a lot, and because of it, I was able to get product here. We launched, we did a show last year, Good Morning America, The View, and we had a guaranteed date of when our product needed to be here, which was the scariest thing, because they actually emailed us like, hey, is the product in your warehouse? And we're like, yes. And so it was actually in the port, and I was contemplating flying to Los Angeles, renting a truck and driving it back if I had to, because it was a big part of our annual sales last year. And so the answer to the next question, this product specifically, no, we probably won't explore the idea of making it domestically. And the reason for that is Yeti is a publicly traded company. They do $350 million a year in sales per quarter in sales. And they try to do vacuum insulation products domestically, and they crash and burn because it's expensive, and they don't want to sell. They already sell their tumbler for $40. They don't want to sell it for $80, and that's where we would take. So.
And that kind of leads me to the next question. So.
You're next. I'm sorry, by the way.
So the cup is aesthetically beautiful. So for that, I'd like to know and give you the opportunity to talk about how does this cup differ from any other insulated cup on the market?
Awesome question. Perfect. So there's a couple things. For starters, we like to think of our cup as movement, and starting it as encouraging people to bring it with them. So we try to make it a smaller, more friendly shape to carry around, but obviously not everybody's
Still
gonna do
full
that. But what really sets us apart with our features is that it's a lot thinner walled. I don't know if you've noticed, it's a lot thinner walled than most vacuum insulated cups. So we've noticed that even though we designed it as a party cup, people are using it for everything from coffee to smoothie, rinse it out for water, then put your wine in it at the end of the day. And be careful with the wine. So that was one thing, was we were getting feedback after our Kickstarter that people were saying, I use this cup all day for everything. And we think it's because of that thinner wall. And it's also very stackable. It's dishwasher safe. There are measurement lines on the inside and the outside of the cup. And it's leak proof as well. It comes with a lid.
Yours don't have.
Yes.
Sorry.
So, and then we also donate 1% of all of our sales through 1% for the planet through our nonprofit partners within that network.
I'm going to add one thing. So when we started designing this, she was actually not on board. She was like, it's just a red cup, who cares? Similar to a lot of people. So that same thought process, potentially your same thought process, has been a big challenge of educating people why this is a better product, which is why getting product in people's hands is really, really valuable. One of the things that I fought for really, really hard, we're the only cup on the market with a vacuum insulated rolled lip. And so I was very diligent about that, because most other cups are pointy. I don't know if that's the right word to describe, whereas this has an actual rolled lip. And that was really, 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 really hard to get a factory to move forward with me to do that. So yeah.
I want to talk about sustainability. You already answered kind of my question. You know, do you have the numbers, my two-part question, on the amount of pollution that's out there? And so like when somebody buys your cup, I was thinking about like for your website, you know, being able to have a ticker, like how many cups have you gotten off those beaches? Like I'm from Florida. I love what you guys are doing. So giving back to, like you said, those resources that could do cleanups is huge. And then same thing with like partnering or working with like Clean Canteen, Hydro Flask, Nalgene. I mean, these are for people that are outdoors, right? So what are some of those like campaigns that maybe you can work with them to do?
I was going to show this just because that's one of the things that's.
I'll let you start.
I'll be really quick. And so we have a couple different like point of purchase displays. Like I mentioned when we first started the company, all of our efforts were for the eco-friendly community. So this was actually our point of purchase, and I'll read it in case you can't. In the time it takes to read this sentence, 79,270 cups have been thrown away or littered. This is probably quite outdated, and I can't find updated information. This was pre-COVID, and by now that number's potentially double, which is really, really saddening. And so, yeah, that's just one aspect of what you asked.
And then, so when we first started the business, we were volunteering with a few different nonprofits in all of the groups in South Florida, especially down in Miami, and probably every weekend we were at events with them. We weren't really collecting data. We would count at the end of the cleanups how many cups we took off the beaches. When we moved up here, initially we had started to try to get involved with Asheville Greenworks, and it was also the middle of COVID. But as our business grew, we've honestly had to take a step back from being activists, just because we're wearing all the hats still for the business. And so to be honest, we just don't have the bandwidth. And I started thinking of ideas like maybe we can pay our employees to go volunteer at these places. But we don't have a tracking system yet.
REI does that. The outdoor company, like they have their breaks for their employees to go do some good, go take off and go out more. So I think that is helpful.
Yes, and as we grow, we plan to do things like that, and then we also plan to have systems in place to be able to track. I think the reason we just haven't done it yet is our limited abilities, I guess, as we're trying to get ourselves out there.
So kudos on being the first restart when the cups presentation comes back. Great job. So the question kind of expand on what you were talking about a minute ago. You know, for like a solo cup, you know, party cup model, you know, you walk into a party and there's a mountain of single-use plastics, so they're being bought by the dozens, right? And provided by the host. I'm just kind of curious in kind of your adoption. You know, are you seeing like package sales where people are kind of purchasing a chunk to have for their kind of party inventory, or is it more of like bring your own kind of cup? And so how are you kind of creating that user experience and kind of helping to displace that single-use plastic party cup?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. We did create a few bundles on our website, so we have, and that we give a discount off of. So we have like one called the barbecue pack, which is a 4-pack, and a family pack, and a ultimate beer pong set, which is 14 cups. And we are seeing people purchasing these. They're a lot of money. So I often am like, wow, people just purchase 14 cups. So we do understand that our cup is significantly more expensive than the solo cup, but it's something that is meant to last you forever. We even have a lifetime warranty as well. But that is something we are seeing, and we're trying to.
I was gonna say, one of the things, as I mentioned, I think around 85% of our sales right now come from retail, and it's only been a year that we've been in retail, so we are very, very, very novice in gathering data and educating our retail stores. So we don't actually have as much information about, hey, like we could reach out to stores, but we should probably do more than just shooting an email. So we don't have the data from our retail stores of how much, like, is one person buying one or is one person buying 12?
And also before COVID, we were getting tagged every day of people bringing their cup with them to all sorts of places. At least in Florida, nobody was getting turned down at a brewery, at the coffee shop.
There's no rules in Florida.
So there was a little, but there was a little bit of a movement that we started, and we were getting tagged by like 20 people a day that were, our hashtag was party sustainably, and so there was that movement, and we're trying to get into bundles as well.
We can take one more question. Hi, what's up? This is Rose Kazan back. Question for you on your Hail Mary. Congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
It sounds like, giving the bird is every bird. Wives twice love it about it. Okay. But you probably figured out no ready is what this Hail Mary is. So if we could talk a little bit more about that. It sounded like getting hands on cups, right? But was that to go to that trade show? You also sounded like you got some awesome press. I'm just curious because a lot of times you're just throwing lines out, right? So can you just give us a little more forward one on the Hail Mary, please? Thanks.
Absolutely. We don't have a photo of the one. So this is our much more expensive trade show booth. But so that's a good question, because in January last year, we were very much in the middle of COVID. The show that we did is called America's Mart, and America's Mart is one of the biggest Southeastern gift shows, and it's the largest gift show in the United States. A typical 10 by 10 costs around $5,000. They didn't have any attendance. They didn't have any vendors. I reached out to the sales member and I was like, hey, what do you have? This was literally 3 days before the show, or 5 days before the show. We were driving back from South Florida, and I called her because I was like, we were stressed. We're like, man, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna go out of business? And so I called them and like, let's just give it a shot. What the hell? They have the space that was supposed to be $3,500 or $4,000 just for the space, and they sold it to us for $1,700. We built our trade show booth in 4 days with our living room television, our this actually. That on the bottom right, that blue shelf is from our house. The wall is pallet walls. This is actually not the booth that we built, but long story short, we spent around $400 to build our trade show booth. We used hotel points and we drove to Atlanta. So our entire cost for the show was maybe $3,500, and we did, I think it was like $15,000 in sales, or yeah, it was really, really good. And so with that, we realized that there was definitely something. We got into a couple showrooms and met a lot of reps and built connections. So yeah.
We also got.
All right, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we also got invited into a showroom later that year at a trade show for free, which was a really big help for us. And they introduced us to Oprah's creative director, which got us on The View. So there was lots of.
Which will be on again in June.
And residual sales, because those people come back and reorder and reorder.
We don't make money on the first sales, but it's the back end. So, okay.
What as a community can we do to help you guys?
I guess I'll start with that. So as we scale, we're struggling to find employees like everybody else. And also just mentorship. I would say one of the biggest things that's helped us grow our business is talking to other business owners and being able to feed off each other. We have some friends in the front row who are other business owners that we get to chat with. And that's been the most helpful thing because they don't put this online. There's no course online on how to properly scale your business. And so I think being able to just have open communication with other business owners is a big.
I would say the other big thing, I think, so last year, because we grew so much, we actually got a SBA loan, and that's been great because it's helped us really, really grow. We're very interested in free money, which is grants. There's a lot of grants that exist, and neither of us know anything about grants. And they're, you know, on a regular basis, we see some of the people that we follow friends. They're like, "Oh my God, I just got $20,000. I want $20,000." And so a lot of them are grants, and I know that those are really, really, really valuable. And so, if anybody has any experience or knowledge about grants, that's definitely something we would welcome with open arms.
All right, Pirani Lake.